So I made the decision to move to Africa. A few months before that, I got married to a beautiful girl from Dominican Republic. She moved across to Trinidad and we was planning our life there. But when I came back from Cameroon and I said, I think I'm going to move to Africa, it's something that she didn't plan for. So, she asked for the divorce and it was all good. So that basically kind of shows, how devoted I am to the whole process of what it is I'm doing here in Africa. So I'm here in Africa for the past 2 years building my empire. Hi, good day. My name is Akhenaton from Trinidad and Tobago. That's in the Caribbean. Hi, this is Akhenaton and this is where it is I'm living at present. We just moved in like 3 weeks ago. They're still doing some construction. Mind the paint when it is you're coming in. So come in. All right, so this is the living room. And like I said, we now moving, so we now getting everything up and running into the apartment. So you have your living couch, right? You must have your big screen TV, right? We are organizing everything, so we kind of put this to be organized, right? It's very breezy. Like I rarely put on the fans, the air condition. I've never put on the air condition since I moved into this apartment, right? So if it is, we come outside. My first impression of Gambia, when it is I came through the airport, the people are very welcoming, very helpful, right? Very warm. It was just very welcoming, like crazy welcoming. When it is I decided to move to Africa, I had to decide which country I was going to come and stay in. Now, you would have think I was in Cameroon. And Cameroon is actually really moving towards technology. And I really would have loved to be in Cameroon. But I think the decision would have been because English, I only speak English, right? So Cameroon, they speak French. I thought the language barrier would have been a problem. And then secondly, the cost of living, right? So I went onto a site, I can't remember the name of the site, but I was checking different African countries. And what I was checking was, what's the cost for a crate of eggs? And then when it is, you look at the English speaking countries, which to me, I only had two options, which would have been Ghana and Gambia, right? And Gambia was the cheapest. And then a lot of people basically said that Gambia has the closest culture to the Caribbean, the food, the weather. So that was the decision for coming to Gambia. We're on the top floor, right? So we have a balcony and we could see the government farm, right? And that is really, really good because we go across every day and we get whatever fruits that we want, especially lettuce, right? So you have a nice view from here and you have a nice view right away wrong, right? Because we have 3 different balconies here. So right, that is your view. Right? Every morning you have birds, they will come and they would wake you up. I can't remember the bird, but in Lion King, the bird that was with Pumbaa and them that have the big beak, every morning he's in front here, always knocking the glass. Like I just saw him pass, right? So and Gambia have a lot of birds, right? So this is fresh air every day and it's a beautiful view. Right? You have your kitchen. You also have another balcony outside. So we're going to go into the bedroom. So we have a bedroom here. We have the master bedroom. And like I said, we now basically moved in. So we probably won't stay here too long because we purchased land and we're going to have our house being built. So this is just a room for storing like sneakers and clothes. So it's a 2-bedroom apartment, right? So I built the shelves, right? I like doing things with my hand and stuff. So this side is my side, wifey stuff on that side, right? So we just have here like a storeroom. So I have some cameras and other stuff here. We have a bathroom here. And then we have the main bedroom, right? So we haven't brought in the bed as yet, right? Because I'm very particular about beds. So they have the local beds and they look very beautiful. The only thing is beds are for two things, for sleeping and for knacking, right? And those are the beds from the 4 other places I've been. They make a lot of noise. So, and then and we may not be here too long, so it doesn't have the space, right? Because the bedroom is actually really small, right? So when it is we move to our place, then we'll probably bring in the bed that we want here. We have a bathroom inside here. Gambia is very cheap. That's the first thing I will say. Gambia is very cheap. So I'm actually doing a feasibility study here also for my software development, and with that capacity, I have been doing certain reports. So for instance, one time I told my brother, I was like, yo, send me 300 TT, which is $3,000 C, right? So we sent it Western Union, right? So 300 TT would get you in Trinidad. If I go to the market, I'll probably get an avocado, I'll probably get some potatoes, probably a pawpaw, right, for 300. When that money is converted across here, I will get a whole pawpaw, I'll get a whole watermelon, I'll get apples. I will buy food for the week. $300 in Trinidad will probably get me food for a day, right? So the money goes a long, long way. And so home in Trinidad on a monthly basis, I would probably spend like, let's just leaving out the rent, I would probably spend like probably about, I don't know, 10,000 TT, which is like $100,000 C across here. Across here, I do spend a lot of money, right? I don't eat typically how the normal households here eat, right? The average salary here in Gambia is like $6,000 C. So I'm married here also. So when it is, I asked my wife, like, okay, the compound that you would have lived in before, what would have been the average monthly spend? And it would have been probably around, $40,000, $50,000 C. And that's where everyone who's working in the household, they would bring their salaries together, right? And you're talking about about 8, 9, 10 people. And between my wife and myself, we spend $50,000 C a month, right? So that will be for like internet. We'll spend like 2,005 for internet, which is like 250 TT. We would buy food. We spend a lot of money on food, right? I wouldn't eat the normal rice. I will do the brown basmati rice, right? We'll do a lot of chicken breasts, right? We always have meat. We always have lamb. We always have fruits in the house. There's always pawpaw. There's always soursop, right? So I spend a lot of money, probably to the traditional homes here, right? But it's still very cheap because that, when you convert it, $50,000 is like only 5,000 TT, right? That would probably last me two weeks in Trinidad. We have another balcony outside here. So you get up in the morning, you can drink your coffee, right? So you have your balcony here. And you can see the rest of the development going on in Gambia, which is very important. They have a lot of development going on in Gambia, you know, so they're raising the aesthetics of the country, yeah? And then I have my special little storeroom, which I converted into a computer room. Yeah, so every tenant, they had a little storeroom. So this is what I did with my storeroom, right? So I love tools, right? And probably that's one of the things that I sacrificed when it is I left Trinidad. I left all my tools, and I have a lot of tools. So when I came here, I was able to buy back a lot of tools. So I made all the shelves, everything. So I have my drones and all my camera stuff, right? And here is where it is. I do my editing. I have a monster tower below the on the ground. It's crazy big. It's probably the whole height of the table. When I brought it in, it was the full weight of the luggage. In fact, it was actually heavier, so I had to take out the hard drives, and you could see I have many hard drives for it. So I have my server to come in. So this was very important, bringing in this computer to edit, to raise, because the editing that they're doing here, most times they shoot it on those low quality cameras because they don't have the PCs to really push the power and the graphics, you know. So this was very important for me, bringing it in. So it's very small, it's very tight, but honestly, health-wise, it's actually good because I don't get to slouch in this room, right? So once it is, I sit, let me see, I'm always straight. And truth be told, you should always be sitting down straight. If it had more room, this whole chair would have been reclined back, you know? So this is my space, yeah. I would have to say the people and the peacefulness, right? You see things here in Gambia that you only hear, you would have heard your parents and your grandparents talk about in Trinidad. So, for instance, where I was first living, the first area, I saw, now they always have kids out in the road. The kids are all over the place. Right? So for one, I'm like, okay, where are these parents, right? So the kids always out in the road. And I'm talking like three-year-olds, 2-year-olds outside in the road, right? Playing in the dirt, right? And they make themselves happy with everything. They will take a sardine can, they'll put a toothpick through it and then put a cork on it and then they pull in it, right? They'll take an old tire and put sticks in it and make a rim, right? And what it is I saw there was someone was driving on the road and a kid ran across the road. And the person in the car stopped, got out, bust the child ass in front of the mother, and then get back in the car and then drive off. And the mother literally said nothing. I was amazed. I was like, wow. When I first came into the country, I was traveling. So they have these taxis, we call them maxis in Trinidad. So they have these taxis. And I was sitting on in the front row, and a lady, she was sitting down next to me and she had her baby. And they had 2 old guys sitting down to the back of me. And they tapped her because the baby was sweating. And they said, open the glass, let the baby get some breeze, right? 10 minutes later, the baby is up. And then I'm seeing the lady, she gave the 2 old guys the baby in the back seat. And I'm like, what's going on? Right? So I'm sitting and I'm like this, and I'm watching these 2 guys because in our culture, that no woman not going and give the kids to any 2 old guys. That not happening. And that brought a softness to my heart where it is literally, these people are not their minds are not warped with the type of nonsense that we have in the West and in the Caribbean, right? That was very heartwarming to me. Even when it is I go to the villages, you would see 10 boys lying down on each other and they're watching a phone, right? They're watching a phone and they're watching Premier League, right? That's crazy. Like, that not happening in our country. And they're lying down on each other and everybody's cool, right? You're seeing little girls walking on the road holding hands. And that, to me, is what really have me happy in this country, the togetherness of the people.
Here at Web Nation family, for years we've been sharing stories of diasporans who have relocated from the diaspora and currently living here on the continent of Africa. You guys have been enjoying the episode, saying in the comment section that you want this to be you one day. Why don't we just bring that time to now? We are inviting you to come on a trip with us to South Africa in November 2026. This is going to be an 11-day experience of we visiting cities like Cape Town, Johannesburg. We having experiences like going to the wine lands and actually experiencing South Africa, the people, the food. This is not just a vacation. This is a very well detailed experience that gives you the proper insight on people interested in relocating. The beautiful part about this is we've made it easy for you to come on this trip with us. By you just making the deposit, you get to pay the rest in installment and get yourself on a trip with us to South Africa. Scan the QR code, secure your spot, and see you in South Africa. Now guys, let's get back into the video.
You probably look at community in two ways. Community being that I have my Caribbean community. I haven't really met too much people from my Caribbean community. So the community as it is right now is literally my African community, right? And like I said, I came into the country with a strategy, right? And a positive strategy knowing that I had to integrate, right? So I've been traveling in these bus. I remember I dressed up and I went into the Maxi, and as soon as I sat down, I tear my new pants, right? And you really have to get accustomed to the way how people live here, right? Even the driving, it's a little crazy, right? So being able to fit in, and it was very easy for me because in Trinidad, where we were born, right? We were born in Curepe, in a place called Ramgully Trace. And back then, Ramgully Trace was very hot, right? And we were living in a corner house. So I literally, I'm accustomed to every Friday seeing police officers running through our yard. Like literally, I'm telling you. Our house wasn't, it was just bricks. So you had like a lot of holes in the bricks where they would crack and then they'll put drugs, right? So I've seen that firsthand, right? And a lot of people in my community in Trinidad and Curepe, when I was coming up, my nickname was White Boy. So they literally used to protect me because I was always inside. I was always reading a book. So they always looked out. They always looked out for me. So coming here and knowing that grassroots life in Trinidad, right? I didn't come here to Africa and I was turning up my nose at, seeing people like when people go to sit down and eat together, and like it may seem very frivolous, but it's a serious thing, right? Like I know some people in my country, if they come here and they say, hey, let's sit down and eat, and they pull out a big bowl, right? A big plate, right? And then you see everybody digging with their hands. Most people not going to do that. They're going to be like, yo, what is going on? They're not doing that. I'm telling you. And you have to really, when you come to Africa, you have to like throw away or keep like your thoughts and the way how you know things to the back, right? It's a whole new culture, a whole new way of living. You have to be open-minded, right? And I came here with that whole perspective of things are not definitely going to be the way how things were happening in Trinidad and different countries that I've gone to, right? So the first time when it is, I see everybody digging with their hand, right? I didn't scorn it, right? I probably just eat from my little corner, right? Which is not bad. And yeah, so it was very easy for me to integrate. And then what made it easier was that I actually got remarried here, right? Understanding the way how marriages happen, right? It's totally different to the way how it happens in our culture, right? In our culture, you go out with a lady and you will get to know that person, spend months with them, right? And you'll get to know them, and then you decide, yeah, you want to get married. Here, if it is you're interested in somebody, you have to basically say your intentions one time. You're not getting to take her out and carry her out because the village elder will probably see that you're trying to take her innocence away from her. So, I mean, I could understand that because probably in our culture too, we would go out with a girl 3-4 months and, you know, you may have intimacy within that period before you even self-talk marriage. Here, they're not willing to, you know, to encourage those things. So after like the first, second time talking to her, I had to come and state my intentions, right? So it's a totally different culture, and you just have to open your mind. Do your research, but even your research is not enough to when it is you reach on the ground, right? You have to be open-minded, knowing that things could change, right? Everything is not going to be hunky-dory when it reach here. It's going to start off probably like that. But when it is anything negative happens, just step back, reminding yourself that you're in someone's culture and you have to understand what you think is the right thing, right? The way how we put words together is totally different to the way how they put words together, right? It might be funny to say their English is different to our English. Some might find it as a disrespect to say that, but the truth is, like, it is. But you have to be smart in the way how you use words, because you could offend someone, and then you could be offended when someone says something to you when the truth is, it's just the way how they use the words. And that is a serious thing you have to be mindful of. So me coming in here, I was open-minded. And I think I did, in Trinidad, I did counseling to slow down my reaction, to react to people, right? That is a journey I was doing for myself. So I think that actually helped me. When it is I came here, I saw how certain things were happening. I saw how I listened to the way how people speak. I would be engaged in different ways. And all I knew was, okay, just calm yourself. Like, it probably is not meant the way how they're basically saying it. So you always have to be mindful, and then always ask questions, you know? But be very mindful, always be pleasant, and be open-minded. Yeah? I have a business strategy, being here in Gambia, being on the motherland. So first off, I have my smart city technology. That's one of the main reasons that I'm here in Africa, right? And in Trinidad, it was getting to a point where business-wise, I could either do two things, right? I could either give in to corruption, right, which is something I'm not into, right? Or I could see my business go down the drain. And I've seen so many people over the years that when it is I was young, we started off together. They had their businesses, and today their businesses are closed. They're selling insurance. Not that anything is bad with that. Some of them turned to church, they became pastors, or this, nothing else is wrong with that. But for me, I've always been the type of person that is always forward thinking, right? So where I saw my business was going in Trinidad, like if I stayed, the business would have gone down. And I mean, I'm here 2 years now, and things is a little bit difficult in Trinidad and Tobago. I have a lot of people calling me this, like, you always seeing things before everybody, right? You actually, the one person we would have thought that if anybody in Trinidad will leave to go and do it in Africa, you would be the most fearless person to go ahead and do it. So I have a software company in Trinidad. That's my bread and butter. And then I have a live production studio, right? So that's Reactive, my software company, and Yellow TV, which is my production company. And Yellow TV, second to none. When it comes to production, we changed the game. And I say that without any apologies. Even Reactive, I mean, we set the standard for interactive technologies, right? That is mainly what it is our services in Trinidad was. And we had a lot of clients that would use our services. And what it is I realized that was happening was that it's the same thing in Trinidad that it have in Africa, where everybody believe white is right, right? So it was always a fight. And I just basically was not up for fighting anymore. So coming here to Africa, right, to expand the business is literally the roadmap I set out for myself, right? So we'll be making a lot of money in Trinidad, right? Especially, I spoke about COVID, right? And like I said, COVID actually showed in Trinidad who the who's are, right? Because during COVID, you saw all the companies who under a month or two got rid of all their staff. You saw all the buildings that you thought was owned by certain individuals that you end up realizing they were renting it, right? You then realize, I don't want to be petty, but you realize a lot of stuff. And I sat down and I smiled. And during COVID, I think I made so much money. I made the most amount of money in my life because software is something that plays into anything. And for a lot of years, we've been pushing the whole technology drive in Trinidad and Tobago and even the Caribbean, right? So where it is I'm now here in the Gambia, you have to be smart when it is you come into an environment that you don't know. So for me, it was like I came in here the first month to make sure that this is where it is I wanted to be. So the first month when I came in, I had caretakers, they had security with me, right? And which I didn't ask for. And when it is I saw the warmth of the country, I said, okay, yeah, I'm going to come back here. This is where it is I'm going to do my business. So I'm here 2 years. The first 2 years, right, what I did was not literally pushing the business out. I was basically here partnering with different organizations. I was basically teaching technologies to different individuals. So I was up in Soma, which is where we would call country, right? My friend who works with GCI, right, David Zhang, he was doing a seminar there, so we were helping people with disability, right? When I came, even though I came for software, I ended up bringing my cameras and drones and different stuff. So I ended up partnering with different production companies. So that led to different things. So I'm actually teaching in the university. So a lot of people in the country, they saw me here as an individual that is not here to take, he's here to give. So I was accepted. So that is basically the strategy for the past 2 years I've been doing. I've been helping a lot, right? Understanding the culture, because If I'd come in with just say, I come in as myself and I'm spending money, I buy a big SUV, then trust me, they would have been eating my money. that's how they term it, right? They would be eating my money, right? So I had a little bit of a strategy where it is, I said, you know what, I'm going to come inside, I'm going to learn the culture, I'm going to understand the people, right? I'm going to integrate. And it's only now, like literally, like within the last 2 months, I'm literally now presenting myself as a business individual in the country, right? Change my whole outlook about a new vehicle. And you might think, oh, that's material. No, here in Africa, it's literally something like the vehicle you drive says a lot about you, right? Especially if it is you're going to go outside to do business. So in the next, 2 weeks, I'm launching one of my software, and I have multiple softwares. So that is basically what I've been doing for the past 2 years. I've been sitting, looking at all the different gaps in businesses, in the way how people communicate with each other, and I've built different technologies. I have some technologies which some businesses they're using presently, right? I don't think I could talk about it just yet, but it's easy. It's easier here for me being a technologist, right? In Trinidad, being a technologist, you always had to fight, right? And like I say, there was always this perception that white is right. You would see the white people come in and they would come and say they're doing this, and then the government will buy into it, right? Whereas we have the same technology, but they're not really going to listen to you, right? And most times, right, these people that they do business with, it's pure failure. Nothing comes out of it, right? So this is my position now in Gambia. I've made my road into where it is I want to go, and things are taking off. Yeah. The conversion rate, like I said, you know, it's 10 to 1. When you really look at the value you're getting here, you're getting good value for your money. But not just that, you're actually getting quality products, right? So chicken here is chicken. Beef here is beef, right? Your food, they're not MSG, you know, and a whole heap of pesticides, right? When it is we do a walk around of the apartment, you're going to see right outside, they have a garden. So we go down, my wife, she goes down and she would get the lettuce, and the lettuce that you get here, it actually lasts in the fridge, right? The food just basically tastes different here, literally. I remember the first month when I came here, I was speaking to one of my business friends, and I was telling them about the food, right? And the chicken, it literally tastes differently. The beef literally tastes differently. And where in America, it's a big thing to say grass-fed, right? That is a norm here. Everything is grass-fed because you have so much grass, right? So that is, you're not just getting value for your money with the quantity of products that you're getting, but you're actually getting quality food for what it is you're purchasing. I am literally free. So one of the reasons coming here to Gambia, to Africa, was me searching for peace. So I said I'm the first of 8 on my mom's side. My dad wasn't really a father figure, so I was daddy, right? I don't really have friends. I have my brothers. I love my brothers. That is my superpowers. When my brothers are around me, it's like, yeah, Superman, right? And when it is, I came here, right? I just felt like, okay, everything is off my shoulder. Everything is off my shoulder. I came here for peace, right? As much as I love my brothers, as much as I love my family, I have a boy and I have a girl, right? I mean, that's probably the most difficult thing coming here. But I've been working since, what, age 13, nonstop. Taking care of myself, taking care of my family, fighting, always fighting, always fighting in business. And not physical fighting, but, fighting to get yourself ahead, for people to really pay you your respect, right? And at some point, you're just like, okay, this is totally not worth it, right? So I think I was what, 44, 43, I said, you know what, this is not worth it. Being in Trinidad is not worth it. Apart from seeing that Trinidad was kind of going down a kind of crazy road. But for me, coming here was having a peace of mind. I get up when it is I want, even though I still get up very early in the morning. But it's not like I get up early in the morning and I have to go somewhere, right? Here it's more relaxed. It's peaceful. And that is what is very important to me, especially at this age, being 45. Yeah. No, I definitely don't feel financially challenged here. Here in Gambia, like I said, your money goes a long way, right? Health is something very important to me. And just talking about health, let's just look at, in the American way of living, right? They pay a lot of money for health insurance, right? The truth is, the reason why it is you're spending all that money is because of the food that you're literally eating, right? Here, you don't have those affordabilities. You don't have those services, right? Probably is for a good reason, or probably it's because it's probably not needed, right? Like I said, the food that you're eating here, it's not laced with pesticides. It's not MSGs. It's not cows that they pumping up and feeding them all kind of nonsense. It's not chickens that you're breeding for a few weeks and then they're pumping them up with fluid. It's not that across here. So your money, apart from your money going a long way, is the quality of life that you're actually getting here. Now, you have to determine what is your level of quality of life, right? Because you're going to come here and everything is not going to be the way how it is you're accustomed to. I do believe talking about civilized world, but let's just say talking about the Western culture, right? You're going to see differences. And you have to pay attention to this, and you have to determine what is your comfort level, right? But for your money, you get a better quality of life. Like, I'm living in this new apartment, literally like a month and something. I've never put on the AC, right? We're doing this interview now, the fan is not even on because you have fresh air coming in, right? So the quality of life here is, I wouldn't say far superior, but it's far better. Yeah. When I came to Cameroon, I was recently married. So that would have been one of the biggest sacrifices, a divorce. Then the most important one would be the kids, right? I have a beautiful son, a beautiful daughter. They're very intelligent. So not being able to see my son right now as he grows up, right, is a little bit challenging. But I sat down and I had a very, close conversation with him about what it is that he's basically doing. My daughter also, the truth is, I only found out about my daughter about 9 years after, right? So just finding out that I had a daughter 9 years after, and then 2 years after knowing her, I had to leave the country, that's a setback, right? So those would have been the challenges, the important challenges, but also not having my brothers around, that not having my armor, my brothers are my armor, right? Not having them around, that would have been some sacrifices. But to see sacrifice on business, for me, is like, this is the future of where my business is basically going. I always knew that I wanted to come here in Africa. I knew changes needed to be made, right? So the main sacrifices would have been my brothers, my kids, giving up the marriage that I have. Yeah? I'm a different thinker. Even when it is us coming up as a young businessman, right? I would have had, I think I had a Hilux, right? And driving, I would drive my Hilux like it was a Lamborghini, right? I always felt proud with everything that I have, right? In Trinidad, it have a lot of people who, everybody have their own perception of what power is, right? And I have my perception of what power is. Power is intelligence. And the way how I would say it is like, you have a lot of wealthy people in Trinidad, but let's say someone, he has the biggest hardware, and he goes to a conference or a meeting. He could only talk about bricks. He could only talk about pliers. He could only talk about construction, right? Let's say this conference is on healthcare, right? All he could talk, he might not be able to put anything into it. But when you're a technologist, you're able to speak to every aspect, every industry. It's the only industry that plays into every other industry in the world, right? So I always had this feeling like, you know what, I'm living my best life. I was always challenging individuals who were far wealthier than me, right? At times it was actually fun. I had my cousin, and we started off Reactive Limited, and we would just get up and we'd be like, okay, what this company is doing, okay, how do we go after this company, right? And we'd just go outside and create technologies just to mess with them, right? Just to take business from them. I remember one of the technologies I created back in the day. You remember BlackBerry was like the most secured phone in the world, the most popular phone back in the day. And back then I saw something in BlackBerry. I can't talk about it, but we ended up creating our own technology that was manipulating BlackBerry messages. Now I'll say that again. I was manipulating BlackBerry messages, right? The first iteration of it, I worked on it with a guy. He was the software developer, right? And he worked on some other stuff with me, and his boss, which was a certain individual, being their competition, told his employee who was freelancing for me that he have to create the same technology for me, my streaming platform, my streaming technology, for my competitor. And that's where it is, I literally realized, like, okay, you know what? I need to do this myself, right? And that gave me a lot of confidence. I sat down and I teach myself coding, everything. Even when I became the first VJ, that was a whole experience of we went to Tobago. We have something which is called Great Fete. It's a weekend of parties, and everybody knows Trinidad and Tobago, we have the best parties, best carnival, right? And it was there I saw this DJ brother and sister, they were playing a Wu-Tang selection, and they gave me goosebumps. And I said, you know what? I want to give people that same feeling, on the stage. And they said to me, that's not going to happen. You have to pay your dues, and that's kind of, and I'm the type of person you don't say I can't do something. And I went outside and I said, okay, how am I going to position myself on this stage the following year? And I was at the club and everyone was just mixing music. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do something better. I'm going to mix videos, right? And I was the first person basically doing it, right? And we became very popular and it grew the business. So I've always been the type of individual who has always been wealthy in thought, right? And like I say, power to different individuals is a different thing. But for me, right, power is intelligence. And that is something that they can't beat me with in Trinidad. I'd go up for some of the coolest tenders in technology and I'll always win them. No matter what they try to do, I'll always win them. But at some point, it was getting to a point where it was becoming a little bit kind of hazardous, being one of the reasons why it is I come across here. But wealth, it's something that I brought across here, my wealth of thought, right, which I'm actually sharing because, like I said, I'm teaching in the university, right? I'm sharing a lot of knowledge, not just in the movie making aspect, but in technology. So it's something that I think I've always had a lot of it, whether it is in Trinidad, whether it is here in Africa, whether it is I go to Europe, right? Yeah. Honestly, the next 5 years, being a recognizable name throughout West Africa. 10 years, Africa. I have, like I said, I have multiple technologies that I'm developing, that I've developed, and they're being released within the next few months. And it's a whole strategy on how it is getting my business outside here. So we have about four main technologies. One is a remittance services application, which I will not go into details about. Then I have my own cryptocurrency, something that we done already built. What it is we basically doing is we coming up with a cryptocurrency that's going to be backed by natural resources. So we're talking about diamonds, golds, those different things. We have a platform to it's kind of hybrid Netflix and Drama Box, right? And then we have, I don't even know if I should talk about it, but here in Africa, there's a problem with geolocation of Google Ads. So we actually have our own ad platform. So these are different things that we are launching, and it's going to be rolled out over a period of time. First off, if you're coming to Africa to take, stay home. If you're thinking that you're going to come here and you're just going to take away from the content from the continent, right? You're going to find it very difficult. You're going to have a lot of difficulties. You have to come here with the whole mindset of you're going to add, right? Add to the skill sets, add to the mindset, right? You have to come here and have a plan to integrate, right? So anyone who is looking to come back home to the motherland, it's all well and good. Come back home, come see Africa. But if it is you're planning to make a life across here, you have to do your research, right? And every country in Africa is different. Every country in Africa is different. They have different cultures. It's the same people. It's the same people. So when it is, you look at Nigeria, it's the same people, right? But you have to do your research. They have certain little distinctive stuff that you must understand, right? Go with good intentions, right? Go with an intention that you're going to help. And that's the best advice I would give to anyone. Also knowing that when it is you do come here, right, you have to put to the back of your mind everything that you think you know. In your conversations, don't use words like you don't understand, right? That could be a trigger for some people across here, right? Because they see us as outsider coming to tell us how to do things, right? You have to be very careful in the way how it is you speak and how it is you communicate to your brothers and sisters. That's very important, right? Even though you're coming with your money, right, which American dollar is like 72 to 1. Euros is like, I think, 80 something dollars, right? You have to not look at the cost of living like items back in your home to back here and say, no, it's cheap. Because what it is you're going to find yourself after a few months is you're going to find yourself that you're actually spending way more money, right? Unless it is you genuinely like know that this is what it is you're spending and this is the lifestyle that you want, right? Just don't take it for granted that, oh, everything is cheaper, right? You're just going to find yourself spending a lot of money, right? So for anyone coming here, do your research. Come here with good intentions. Come here with the mindset that you're going to add to the motherland, right? And be mindful of what you have learned, because when it comes here, you have to relearn again. I think my past self would have said, come here a lot sooner, really and truly. From the business side, I would say definitely come here a lot sooner. On the personal side, also the same thing. In Trinidad, like I say, I'm a technologist, and even in the field of production, I've been saying a lot of things to a lot of different business entities that they now literally seeing it come into fruition, right? So you have one of the biggest broadcasters the other day, they closed down, and they were basically backed by one of the biggest telecoms provider in the Caribbean, right? And I've been saying to a lot of people, it's like Trinidad is 1.4 million people. When you put the Caribbean together, it's probably like 40 million. You could take 40 million people and you could throw that in one country in Africa, right? And that is what it is. I've been saying, like, the market is literally small and you could do so much more and you could bring so much more to Africa, right? When it is you come across and you bring your expertise, the reciprocate of that is you're actually going to have a bigger market, right? So I would have been telling myself, yo, you need to come to Africa way much earlier, right? I mean, if I was 30 here in Africa with the mindset I had, by now I'm sure I would have been a billionaire. Like, I'm telling you, the kind of stuff I've done in Trinidad, I won't say it was wasted, but I always needed a bigger market. I always needed a bigger market, right? In technology, in multimedia production, right? So yeah, I definitely would say, yo, come across here way earlier. Because I mean, I'm 45 and my body will be talking to me now, right? So I can't physically exert myself the way how it is I could have done it when I was 30, 35. So I have to be a little bit more mindful in the way how it is I'm exerting myself, but I am pushing a lot across here. So I definitely will tell younger Tupper, come across here earlier. Yeah. Know yourself. It's very important to know where you come from. It's very important to understand where the cradle of life literally came from. Exploring Africa should be something that everyone from every walks of life, it doesn't matter if you're dark skin, brown skin, white skin. I think everybody should come to Africa and understand where life literally came from, right? But for the Africans, right, everyone should try to make a journey back home, right? Understand your ancestral path, right? This is something that I think we as Africans, whether it's African Americans, Caribbean people, because I think the Caribbean has been recognized as an extension of Africa. It's something that we definitely need to look into, right? It has so many positives, right? It has so many mind-breaking perspectives that you could come here and be like, okay, they didn't tell us this about Africa, right? So it's very important to get your own knowledge, your own perspective, and anyone who could basically jump on a plane, come across to the motherland, you should take that effort. I'm not saying not to go to Europe, but it have so many beautiful islands here. Not islands, but beaches and countries here that honestly will blow your mind. So for instance, it have Seychelles, right? You go to Seychelles, you'll be like, yo, what is this, right? You have Madagascar, right? So, I mean, you have Angola. You're going to go to Angola, you're going to see nice cities, right? I think part of Angola looks like if it's like Miami with all the yachts, right? And I mean, you're talking safaris, animals that you won't see in other countries, right? You go to Kenya, and then, I mean, even if it is you come to Gambia, you're going to get the real stories of Kunta Kinte, right? Not the narrative. And I think that's like, literally, that's the most important thing why it is you would want to come to Africa. A lot of narratives has been pushed outside to the world, right? And you need to know the truth. And that's why it is anyone wanting to know the truth, jump on a plane and come across to the motherland.